Have you ever found yourself waiting for a change, for a breakthrough, for something to shift in your life? Have you felt the weight of time dragging on, the uncertainty building, as though the universe is holding its breath? It can feel unbearable, can't it? Like every second that passes is a moment stolen from you, and every day of delay is a step away from your hopes. But what if I told you that delay is not the enemy you think it is? What if this waiting period, this season of uncertainty, has a purpose so profound that it might just change your entire perspective on life and faith? What if everything you are going through right now, the waiting, the silence, the unanswered prayers, is part of a divine plan far greater than you can comprehend? What if the delay in your life is not God's denial, but His preparation? I want you to think about that for a moment. The God of the universe, the creator of time itself, doesn't just let things happen randomly. Every pause, every setback, every delay is meticulously woven into His purpose for you. And while it might not make sense today, there is an undeniable truth waiting for you to uncover. Behind every delay, there is a purpose. Behind every closed door, there is a divine intention. This message is not just for anyone. This is for you. It's for you in your pain, in your frustration, in your confusion. It's for you sitting in the silence, wondering why the breakthrough hasn't come yet. I want to tell you this with all the sincerity in my heart. The waiting is not wasted. And in just a moment, we're going to unravel why. But before we move deeper into this journey together, I want you to commit to being fully present. To experience the full depth of what's about to be revealed, I ask you to take a moment to like this video, to subscribe to this channel, and to leave a comment below with the phrase, "I trust His timing." Why? Because when you engage, you're not just engaging with a message, you're becoming part of something greater. You are actively choosing to walk in faith, to embrace what God is teaching you, and you are helping others on their journey too. Every comment you leave, every like you give, adds to a collective movement of believers who are walking this path together. I know it might be hard to see right now, but hear this. Your season of waiting is not a season of loss. It is a season of growth. And by the end of this message, I believe you will begin to see it. So hold on tight. The purpose behind the delay is far more powerful than you could ever imagine. Let's uncover this truth together. Are you ready? Let's dive in. We've all been there, waiting for something that seems just out of reach. The breakthrough, the promotion, the healing, the change in circumstances we so desperately desire. The clock ticks on, and all we have are unanswered questions. But in the midst of it, we often fail to realize that waiting is not passive. Waiting is an active process, one that requires trust, endurance, and faith. And this is where we begin to understand the first part of the truth behind every delay. Waiting is an act of surrender. When we wait, we are not simply standing still. We are surrendering our own timelines, our own desires, and even our own expectations. This act of surrender can be incredibly uncomfortable, but it is in the surrender that God begins to work in us. It's in the waiting that our hearts are softened, our patience is stretched, and our reliance on Him is deepened. Look at the story of Abraham in the Bible. Abraham was promised a son who would be the heir to a great nation. Yet he waited for years, decades even. Can you imagine the frustration he must have felt? The delay was not just an inconvenience, it was a test of his trust. Abraham had to surrender his own timeline, his own understanding of how things should unfold. And in that waiting, God was not silent. He was preparing Abraham for the fulfillment of His promise. In the same way, your waiting season is not about inactivity. It's about God preparing you for what's next. It's about deepening your faith, refining your character, and building your trust in His perfect timing. When God is silent, it doesn't mean He's absent. It means He's working behind the scenes, orchestrating the events that need to happen in your life for His will to be fulfilled. Let me ask you this. Do you trust His timing, even when it doesn't make sense? Are you willing to surrender your own expectations for the perfect timing that only He can provide? If this speaks to you, if you're feeling the weight of the wait right now, comment below, I trust His timing. You are not alone in this journey. The waiting might feel long, but you are not waiting in vain. God is doing something powerful in your life, even in the silence. As we move forward, keep in mind that this waiting season is not a punishment. It's a preparation, and that preparation is the foundation for the breakthrough that is coming. Let's continue to uncover what's behind the delay. There's something incredibly powerful about perseverance. It's easy to start something new with excitement and energy, but when the road gets tough, when the obstacles start piling up, and when progress feels painfully slow, the true test begins. Perseverance is not about how quickly you can reach your goal, but about how much strength you can find in the midst of the struggle. The Bible reminds us in James 1:2-4 that perseverance isn't just a virtue, it's the key to spiritual maturity. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Do you see it? The delay, the struggle, the testing, it's not meaningless. It has a divine purpose. Perseverance in the waiting period doesn't just help us survive. It builds us up spiritually. It strengthens our character. It reveals to us how much we truly depend on God and how much we're willing to trust Him, even when we can't see the end of the road. Think of Joseph's story. He had dreams of greatness, dreams that promised a future full of honor and influence. But his journey to that future was full of betrayal, loneliness, and imprisonment. Joseph waited, but his waiting wasn't in vain. Every hardship, every setback was part of God's perfect plan for him to rise to a place of authority, where he could save his family and an entire nation. The waiting season wasn't wasted. In the midst of his struggles, Joseph learned perseverance, and it was through perseverance that God's purpose for his life was fulfilled. God didn't let him fall into despair. He allowed Joseph to grow, stronger, to trust deeper, and to rely on him completely. And when the time was right, when Joseph had been tested and prepared, the promise was fulfilled in a way he couldn't have imagined. Right now, in your waiting season, you might feel exhausted. You might wonder why things aren't moving faster. You might even feel like you're stuck in a never-ending loop. But hear this, every moment of perseverance in your life is producing something deep within you. Every tear, every prayer, every act of faith is molding you into the person God is preparing you to be. The delay, it's part of the process. God is strengthening you through it. So when the breakthrough comes, you will be ready to carry it. Perseverance isn't just about holding on. It's about becoming the person God designed you to be, stronger, wiser, more trusting, and more faithful. Now, I want to ask you, are you willing to persevere, even when it seems impossible? Are you ready to press on, knowing that God is with you every step of the way? If you're committed to persevering, write this in the comments. I will endure for His purpose. Your words can strengthen others who are also in the waiting, and together we'll walk this journey with faith. Remember, it's in your perseverance that you are being prepared for what's ahead. Trust the process, and let's continue to uncover what's behind the delay. There is one truth that many of us find challenging to grasp. God's timing is always perfect. We live in a world that thrives on instant gratification. We want things now, success, answers, healing, and breakthrough. But God's timeline often looks different. Sometimes it feels like things are moving so slowly that we wonder if He's even paying attention. But I'm here to tell you today, God is not late. He's not dragging his feet. He's not slow in fulfilling his promises. In fact, he is right on time every single time. We may not always understand why things are taking longer than we expect, but we can rest assured that God's timing is never accidental. It is always intentional. Let's look at the life of Jesus. There were times when people desperately needed him, like when his dear friend Lazarus was sick. The Bible tells us that Lazarus' sisters, Mary and Martha, sent for Jesus because they knew he could heal their brother. But instead of rushing to Lazarus' side, Jesus delayed his journey. When he finally arrived, Lazarus had been dead for 4 days. Imagine the grief and confusion that Mary and Martha must have felt. But in that moment, Jesus revealed something incredibly powerful. His delay wasn't a mistake. It was part of God's divine plan. He was about to demonstrate the ultimate power of God. He raised Lazarus from the dead. In John 11:40, Jesus said, "Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" Jesus wasn't late. He was right on time to show the world a miracle that would glorify God in a way that no one could have imagined. His timing was perfect, even when it didn't make sense to anyone else. Just like Jesus, God knows exactly when to show up in your life. You may feel like you've been waiting forever for a breakthrough. You may have wondered why God hasn't answered your prayers yet. But God's delay doesn't mean he's absent or unaware. It means he's setting things up for his glory to be revealed in the perfect way. When we understand that God's timing is perfect, it brings us peace. We don't have to be anxious about the delays. We don't have to worry that things won't work out. We simply trust that he is working all things together for our good. Romans 8:28. The waiting isn't pointless. It's a preparation for what God is about to do. Think about the moments in your life where you felt like time was standing still. Now look back and see how God used that time to shape you, strengthen you, and align you with his will. There's purpose in the waiting. So, if you're still waiting for your breakthrough, take a deep breath and trust his timing. He's not forgotten you. He's preparing you for something greater. Your waiting will not be in vain. Ask yourself, can I trust God's timing even when I don't understand it? Can I surrender my desire for immediate results and trust that he will show up at just the right moment? If you're ready to trust God's timing and surrender your impatience, type this in the comments: I trust his timing. Let this declaration be a testimony of your faith, and let others know that you are not alone in this journey. Remember, God is never late. His timing is always perfect. And as we continue to explore what's behind every delay, know that the best is yet to come. Waiting. It's a word that many of us wish we could erase from our lives. It brings with it frustration, uncertainty, and sometimes even a sense of hopelessness. But here's a truth that can change the way we view waiting. Waiting is not a waste of time. In fact, it's a process that God uses to prepare us for greater blessings. Have you ever felt like you're stuck in the waiting room of life? You see others moving forward, getting the promotions, finding success, receiving answers to prayers, while you feel like you're just standing still. It's tempting to think that your waiting is purposeless, that you're being left behind or forgotten. But what if I told you that your waiting is the very thing that's positioning you for something greater? In the Bible, we see numerous examples of people who had to wait for God's perfect timing before their breakthrough came. One powerful example is the story of Joseph. Joseph had a dream when he was young. He saw himself in a position of authority, ruling over his family. But instead of immediately stepping into this role, Joseph experienced years of betrayal, hardship, and imprisonment. It must have felt like God was silent. The promise seemed so far away, and Joseph could have easily doubted God's plan. Yet every moment of waiting, every trial he faced, was preparing him for the position he would eventually hold. In Genesis 41, after years of waiting, Joseph finally stood before Pharaoh and interpreted his dream. In that moment, God elevated Joseph from the prison to the palace. What was once a delay became a divine setup. Joseph's waiting had equipped him with the wisdom, humility, and strength to lead the nation during a time of famine. His journey was not wasted. It was all part of God's plan. The waiting is not a punishment. It is a preparation. And this is one of the most profound truths you can grasp in your own life. God is using your waiting to shape you into the person who is ready to handle the blessing He's about to pour out. The patience you are learning now will be the foundation of your success tomorrow. We live in a world that tells us that waiting is a sign of weakness or failure, but God tells us that waiting is a sign of trust. When we wait on God, we show that we believe His timing is better than our own. We show that we believe He is working behind the scenes, even when we don't see the results yet. And most importantly, we show that we believe He is faithful to fulfill His promises. Maybe you're waiting for a breakthrough in your finances, a relationship to be restored, a healing in your body, or a change in your career. Whatever it is, know that God is not just asking you to wait for the answer. He is preparing you for it. Think about the ways God has worked in your life during the waiting periods. How has He shaped your character? What lessons have you learned? How has your faith grown stronger? If this speaks to you, if you believe that the waiting is part of the preparation for your blessings, type this in the comments. I am being prepared for greatness. Let your declaration inspire others to trust that their waiting is not in vain. And if you're feeling overwhelmed in the waiting, remember, God sees you. He knows your heart, your struggle, your impatience. But He's using this time to build something greater in you than you could ever imagine. The blessings that await you are worth every moment of waiting. Trust in the process, because God is working in the unseen, and He will bring His perfect plan to fruition in your life. There is a profound lesson in learning to trust God's timing. We live in a world that thrives on instant gratification. From the food we eat to the information we consume, everything happens at lightning speed. We are conditioned to want things now, answers to prayers, solutions to problems, and breakthroughs as quickly as possible. But what happens when the answers don't come immediately? What happens when we feel like we've been waiting for so long that we start to doubt if the promises God gave us will ever come to pass? It's in these moments, when we are struggling with impatience, that we must remember God's timing is always perfect, even when it doesn't align with our own. The reality is, God is not bound by time as we are. What seems like a delay to us is often part of His bigger plan. Take the story of the Israelites in the wilderness. God had promised them a land flowing with milk and honey, a place of rest and prosperity. But instead of taking them on a direct path to the promised land, God led them through the wilderness. It was a journey that took much longer than they expected, and yet God was not delaying them for no reason. He was teaching them to trust Him. He was showing them His faithfulness, even when things seemed uncertain. He was refining them, preparing them for the land they were about to inherit. Had they arrived any sooner, they wouldn't have been ready to fully receive the blessing. They would have missed out on the deep transformation that the waiting period was meant to bring. You may find yourself in a similar season of waiting, feeling as though you've been walking in circles or wandering through a wilderness of your own. You might wonder why God hasn't given you what you're asking for, why the answers to your prayers are delayed, or why the breakthrough hasn't come. But I encourage you to shift your perspective. God is doing something in you right now. Maybe He is strengthening your faith. Maybe He is teaching you to trust Him even when you don't understand. Maybe He is refining your character so you are ready to handle the blessing when it comes. Proverbs 3:5-6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight." These verses remind us that we don't need to understand everything in order to trust God. Even when we can't see the full picture, we can trust that He is leading us, step by step, toward what He has promised. Trusting God's timing means letting go of our need for control. It means surrendering our desire for instant results and trusting that He knows what is best for us. It's a choice to stop trying to rush God's plan and to believe that in His time, He will make everything beautiful. Trusting His timing is not always easy, but it is always worth it. When you look back on your life, you will see how every delay, every moment of waiting was part of the masterpiece that God was creating in you. His delays are never denials. They are divine opportunities for growth. If this resonates with you, if you're learning to trust God's timing, type in the comments, "I trust His perfect timing." Let your declaration be a reminder to others that even in the waiting, God is at work. And if you're still struggling with impatience, don't be discouraged. God is not slow, He is intentional. Every step He takes is measured and full of purpose. Your breakthrough is coming in His perfect time. Waiting is never easy. It feels uncomfortable, as though we are stuck in a moment of limbo, not moving forward but also unable to go back. And yet, waiting is one of the most beautiful spiritual practices we can engage in. In the waiting, we discover a depth of connection to God that we might never experience if everything came to us instantly. There's a profound truth in the concept of waiting. God uses the space between the promise and the fulfillment to mold us, to shape our hearts, and to refine our spirits. In the book of Isaiah, we are reminded that they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Isaiah 40:31. This verse highlights the power that comes from waiting on God, not in a passive sense, but in a way that actively strengthens us. When we wait on God, we do not sit idly by. Instead, we're engaging in an active trust that God is working behind the scenes, orchestrating events and preparing us for what is to come. The waiting becomes an opportunity to draw closer to Him, to deepen our trust, and to learn more about His heart for us. Consider the story of David. As a young boy, he was anointed to be the king of Israel, but his path to the throne was filled with years of waiting. David was forced to flee from King Saul, hiding in caves, running for his life, and yet, in all of this, he never took matters into his own hands. He waited. He trusted God. He learned what it meant to depend fully on God's strength and timing. It wasn't an easy wait. David had every reason to grow discouraged, to doubt the promise God had given him. And yet, he chose to wait on God. In those years, God was preparing David, teaching him how to lead, how to trust, how to surrender. David's waiting period wasn't a sign of God's absence, but rather a sign of His presence working in ways that David couldn't yet understand. The same is true for you. The waiting periods you experience are not wasted time. God is doing something inside of you, shaping your character, increasing your faith, and equipping you for what is ahead. In the waiting, you are being prepared for something far greater than what you could have imagined. The beauty of waiting is that it teaches us to shift our focus. Instead of fixating on the delay, we are invited to focus on the one who holds the timing in His hands. And the more we focus on God, the more we are transformed. The waiting becomes less about the delay and more about what God is doing in us and through us in that moment. Have you ever felt like giving up during your wait? Maybe you felt like you can't go another day without the answers you've been longing for, but I encourage you to press in. The beauty of waiting is found in trusting God's heart and knowing that He has not forgotten you. He is working all things for your good, even if you can't see the full picture right now. If you're currently in a season of waiting, I want to encourage you to write in the comments, "I choose to wait with hope." Let your words be a declaration of trust, a reminder to your heart and to others that God's timing is worth the wait. God is never in a hurry, but He is always on time. His delays are never denials. They are part of His perfect plan. When He brings the answer, when He opens the door, when He fulfills the promise, it will be everything you need and more. The waiting will have been worth it. We live in a world that thrives on speed, convenience, and instant gratification. We can get food in minutes, messages in seconds, and almost everything we desire with just a click of a button. Yet when it comes to God's plan for our lives, He operates differently. His timeline doesn't match the urgency of our world. It's in these moments of uncertainty, when the wait feels endless and the answers seem distant, that our faith is tested. We often find ourselves asking, why isn't God moving faster? Or why hasn't He answered my prayers yet? These questions arise naturally because we live in a culture where speed is everything. We want what we want now, but God's timing is perfect, and it is in these moments of waiting that He is developing something even greater than we realize. Think about the story of Abraham. God made him a promise that he would be the father of many nations. Yet, for years, Abraham and his wife Sarah had no children. They were beyond the age of childbearing, and the promise seemed impossible. In the face of uncertainty, Abraham could have rushed ahead, tried to force things to happen, or taken matters into his own hands. But instead, he chose to trust in God's timing, even when it seemed like nothing was happening. In Genesis 15:4-6, God assures Abraham that his heir will come from his own body, and while the promise is given, the fulfillment takes time. Abraham had to wait. But when the time was right, God opened Sarah's womb, and they had a son, Isaac. Abraham's waiting wasn't a denial of God's promise. It was a preparation for something bigger. The time of waiting was essential for God's plan to unfold in the perfect way. God's timing, though often different from our own, is always right. He knows exactly when to move, when to speak, and when to act. He is never late and never early, but always on time. We must learn to trust that even when we don't see immediate results, God is at work in ways we can't yet understand. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. How often have you found yourself in a season of uncertainty, asking God why things aren't happening as quickly as you hoped? Have you ever felt frustrated, wondering if He's forgotten you or if His promises will ever come to pass? In these moments, it's easy to feel disconnected or to lose hope. But what if I told you that the waiting is not a sign of God's absence, but a sign of His deep involvement in your life? What if the waiting period is actually a season of preparation, where God is aligning the pieces of your life in ways you cannot yet see? What if He is allowing you to wait because the timing is simply not right yet? God's plans for you are far bigger than you can imagine. When you trust His timing, you surrender to a divine plan that knows no bounds. He is preparing you for a future that is beyond what you could have ever dreamed. So I challenge you to embrace this season of waiting with open arms. Instead of feeling discouraged or frustrated, ask God to help you see what He is doing in this moment. Trust that He is working behind the scenes, even if you can't see it. And while you wait, keep pressing forward in faith, knowing that He is faithful to fulfill His promises. If you've experienced a season of uncertainty and trust, comment below. I trust God's timing. Let this be a statement of your faith, a declaration that you believe in His perfect timing, even when things feel uncertain. You may not have all the answers right now, but you can have peace in knowing that God is holding everything together. He has never left you, and He never will. His timing is a reminder that you don't have to rush ahead or try to force His hand. You just need to trust that He is working, even when you don't see it. In moments of waiting, the struggle to understand the delay can feel like a deep inner conflict. The promise that God has something wonderful for us seems distant, overshadowed by the pressing reality of what we see right in front of us. We cry out, "Why is it taking so long?" We feel as if our future is suspended in the air, like a ship lost in the fog, not knowing where the shore is or how long it will take to get there. But what if I told you that the purpose of the waiting itself is part of God's preparation for something beyond what we could imagine? God's plan isn't just about the destination, it's also about the journey. And the journey is designed to shape you, to refine you, to prepare you for what He has in store. Think of Joseph's story in Genesis. Joseph was given a dream from God, a dream that promised greatness. His brothers would one day bow to him. But instead of seeing this promise come to fruition immediately, Joseph's life took an unexpected turn. He was sold into slavery, falsely accused, thrown into prison, and left to wonder what had happened to God's promise. If Joseph had known that this would be his path, he might have felt overwhelmed. He might have given up or turned his back on God. But what he didn't know in those dark, lonely moments was that God was at work. God used Joseph's time in slavery and prison not only to refine his character, but also to prepare him for the position of authority he was destined for. The delays, the hardships, and the waiting were all part of God's divine plan to bring Joseph to a place of influence where he would save nations, including his own family. Joseph's story shows us that delays and suffering aren't wasted in God's kingdom. They are often the tools He uses to transform us, to strengthen us, and to equip us for the tasks ahead. Without the time of waiting, Joseph may not have been ready to handle the responsibility and authority he was given. The process of refinement is hard, yes, but it is essential to the fulfillment of God's promises. Just like Joseph, your journey might be filled with unexpected twists and delays. You might find yourself questioning the path, wondering why things aren't moving as quickly as you would like. But this is where faith plays its most critical role. Faith doesn't just believe in the end result. Faith believes that the process, the waiting, is a necessary part of God's plan. Sometimes we think we're being held back, but in reality, we're being prepared. The delay isn't a setback, but a setup for something greater. As Isaiah 55:8-9 tells us, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." We may not understand the process, but we can trust that God does. Think about your own life. How many times have you felt stuck, waiting for something to change, wondering if God had forgotten you? How many times have you cried out for God to act quickly, only to feel like He's silent? In those moments, it's essential to remind yourself that God is never doing nothing. He is always working, always preparing, always aligning everything for your ultimate good. The waiting period is not just about your patience. It's about God working in ways that you can't yet see. He is aligning people, opportunities, and circumstances. He is teaching you lessons that will serve you for a lifetime. He is refining your character, making you stronger, wiser, and more resilient. So, if you find yourself waiting today, take a deep breath. Trust that every moment you are in is part of God's plan. You may not see it now, but He is orchestrating something incredible on your behalf. Hold on to His promise that He is with you in the waiting, and He is working things out for your good. If this resonates with you, comment below. I trust God's purpose in the waiting. Let this be your declaration of faith, a sign that you believe He is working even when you can't see it. Know that you are not waiting in vain. Your journey is not aimless. Every step, every delay, every moment of waiting is a step toward the fulfillment of God's purpose for your life. As we continue to walk through life, one of the most challenging, yet profound experiences we can face is the refining fire. It is during these times of delay and struggle that we often feel the heat of life's difficulties, testing our patience, faith, and trust in God. But what if I told you that this very fire, the one that seems like it could consume you, is actually the process God uses to refine you into something more beautiful, more powerful, more resilient than you could ever imagine? In the book of Malachi, God says he will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, Malachi 3:3. This passage points to a process where God purifies his people, removing the impurities from their hearts and lives so that they can reflect his image more clearly. The refining process is not easy. It often feels like we are being pushed to our limits. The heat intensifies, the pressure mounts, and we may begin to wonder, is this ever going to end? But understand this: the heat of the fire is not meant to destroy you. It is meant to purify you. Just like the refiner sits by the furnace, carefully watching over the process, God is always present in the midst of your struggles, ensuring that nothing happens to you that is not part of his divine plan. The flames are not there to consume you, but to burn away the things that are holding you back from becoming who God has created you to be. Think of the goldsmith. When he places the gold in the fire, he watches carefully, making sure that it does not overheat. The gold melts, and the impurities rise to the surface where they can be skimmed off. What remains is pure, shining gold. This is the picture of what God is doing in your life during times of delay. The delays are not signs of abandonment. They are part of the process that will make you stronger and purer in your faith. In Psalm 66:10, the psalmist writes, "For you, O God, have tested us. You have refined us as silver is refined." The refining process can be painful, but it is necessary for spiritual growth. We often experience delays, disappointments, and even failures in life, but these are not signs that we are outside of God's will. They are the tools that God uses to shape and mold us into the people he has called us to be. Maybe you've experienced a season where it feels like everything is delayed or falling apart. Perhaps you've faced situations that have caused you to question your worth, your purpose, or God's plan for your life. But let me encourage you with this truth: God is not done with you yet. The fire that you are walking through is only temporary, but the results are eternal. When we look at the lives of biblical figures like Job, we see a man who endured intense suffering and delay. He lost everything: his wealth, his health, and his family. Yet through it all, he refused to curse God. He trusted that the delay in his restoration was not a sign of abandonment, but a sign of God's refining work. And in the end, Job was restored even greater than before. God used his suffering and delay to prepare him for a greater blessing. What delays are you facing today? What hardships are you walking through that feel like a constant weight on your shoulders? Know this: God is using that fire to refine you. The process may be painful, but it is necessary for your spiritual growth. The impurities in your heart, the things that hold you back from living fully in God's purpose, are being removed. You are being made stronger, more resilient, more faithful. If this message speaks to you, let it resonate in your heart. Take a moment to comment below: "I am being refined by the fire." Let this be your declaration that you trust the process, even when it's difficult. Let it be a sign that you believe God is working in you and through you during your waiting season. The refining process may be hard, but remember this: the fire will not consume you. It will only make you more pure, more beautiful, and more like Christ. So trust the process even when the heat feels intense. God is right there with you, watching over you and bringing you through the fire into something greater. There's a moment that comes after the fire, after the waiting, after the pain and the tears. It's the moment when everything you've been through suddenly starts to make sense. The confusion lifts, the fog clears, and you realize, as if for the first time, that there was a divine plan all along, one you couldn't see when you were in the middle of the delay. but one that is now being revealed before your eyes. And I ask you, have you ever experienced that moment where you realize that God's timing was perfect? A moment when, looking back, you see that all the delays, all the struggles were actually orchestrated by God to lead you to something greater. It's that moment of breakthrough when you finally understand that everything was working together for your good. Romans 8:28 says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." This verse is one of the most powerful reminders that even in the midst of delays, there is a purpose being worked out behind the scenes. The waiting is not wasted. The struggles are not in vain. Everything you've been through is part of a bigger picture that you will only fully see when you look back from the other side. Just think about the life of Joseph. His journey to his eventual rise in Egypt was marked by betrayal, slavery, imprisonment, and countless delays. At the time, none of these events seemed to make sense. Yet, years later, when he was reunited with his brothers, Joseph could say, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Genesis 50:20. The delays and the hardships weren't punishment. They were part of the divine plan that was unfolding step by step. In the same way, your delays are not meaningless. You may not see it now, but God is preparing you for something greater. The breakthrough is coming. The breakthrough may look different than you expected, but it will be just as powerful. God is using everything you've been through to shape you for his glory and your ultimate good. When you're in the middle of a delay, it's hard to see past the pain. It's hard to see how the things that feel like setbacks could actually be part of God's perfect timing. But there's a shift that happens when you begin to trust his sovereignty over your life. Suddenly, you stop focusing on the delay and you start focusing on the fact that God is working in the midst of it. And with that shift comes a sense of peace, a sense of expectancy, and a renewed hope that God is in control. The breakthrough doesn't always come when we expect it. In fact, it often comes when we've reached the point of surrender, when we've let go of our own plans and allowed God to work in his own timing. And that's exactly what God wants for you, a surrender of your own timeline, your own ideas, of when and how things should happen. He's teaching you to trust him, even when the path seems unclear, even when the weight feels unbearable. Isaiah 55:8-9 reminds us that God's ways are higher than our ways, and his thoughts are higher than our thoughts. His timing is perfect, even when it doesn't make sense to us. And when the breakthrough comes, it will be more than worth the wait. It will be more than you could have imagined, because God is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine. Ephesians 3:20. Have you reached the moment of breakthrough in your life? Or are you still waiting, still trusting that God will show you the way forward? If you're in that waiting season, hold on to this truth. Your breakthrough is coming. It might not look like what you expected, but it will be a breakthrough all the same. And it will be filled with purpose, power, and the undeniable hand of God. Take a moment to reflect. If this message speaks to your heart, comment below with, "My breakthrough is coming." Let this be your declaration that you believe in God's timing, that you trust that he is working in your life even when it feels like nothing is happening. You are not waiting in vain. God is preparing you for something greater. Don't let the delays discourage you. Keep moving forward with hope, knowing that the breakthrough will come at the perfect time, according to God's plan. The hardest part of any journey is not the destination. It's the waiting. It's the in-between moments when you feel like you're standing still, when you look around and everything seems the same and you wonder, why is nothing changing? Why does it feel like I'm stuck in the same place? But here's the truth that can set you free. The waiting is not a pause. The waiting is part of your refining process. Have you ever felt like you're just in a holding pattern, as if you're waiting for something to happen, but nothing is moving forward? You're not alone. Throughout Scripture, we see countless examples of men and women who experienced long seasons of waiting before they stepped into their purpose. And in every one of those seasons, God was doing something deep inside of them, preparing them for what was ahead. Psalm 27:14 says, "Wait for the Lord, be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord." The act of waiting isn't passive. It's an active choice to trust in God's timing and to believe that He is doing something in the silence, something that will be revealed at the right time. It's during these moments of waiting that God refines our hearts, strengthens our faith, and builds in us a patience that can only come from experiencing His peace in the middle of uncertainty. Think about the process of refining gold. Gold doesn't just appear pure, it has to be heated up to extreme temperatures so that the impurities can be burned away. In the same way, God uses the heat of waiting and the pressure of delay to purify you, to burn away the things that are not of Him, and to make you more like Christ. It's painful, but it's necessary, and when you come out of this season, you will be stronger, purer, and more prepared for the next season of your life. James 1:2-4 speaks to this refining process. "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. The trials, the delays, and the waiting are not in vain. They are shaping you into the person God created you to be. They are preparing you for a season of fruitfulness, a season where you will step into your destiny with a deeper understanding of God's love and a greater capacity to carry His purpose." So, if you're in a season of waiting right now, I want you to take heart. This is not a wasted season. This is the moment when God is doing His deepest work in you. Don't fight the waiting, embrace it. Allow God to refine you. Trust that He is preparing you for something far greater than you can imagine. Your waiting is not a sign that God has forgotten you. It is a sign that He is preparing you for something extraordinary. You are being shaped, molded, and perfected, and the person you are becoming is going to be far more powerful and capable than you ever thought possible. And even in the waiting, He is working. Even when it seems like nothing is happening, God is laying the groundwork for your future. Every delay, every moment of stillness is part of His perfect plan. So don't let the waiting discourage you. Let it strengthen you. Let it teach you to rely on God's timing and to trust that when the time is right, you will see the breakthrough you've been waiting for. If this message resonates with you, I encourage you to write in the comments, "I am being refined for something greater." Let this be a declaration of your faith in the process, that you trust God is doing a deep work in your life, even when you can't see it. And remember, as you wait, God is preparing you to step into your purpose. The delay is not denial. It's a divine preparation for something powerful that's just around the corner. There's a moment in every season of waiting, a moment where it seems like everything has come to a standstill, when suddenly, without warning, everything begins to change. That moment of breakthrough is closer than you think. It's in those quiet moments when you've exhausted your own strength and you feel like giving up, that God is about to move in a way you never expected. Do you feel like you've been praying for so long, hoping for something to change, but nothing is happening? Have you cried out to God, but it seems like He's silent, like He's not listening? If that's you, I want to remind you of something so powerful. The fact that you haven't seen the breakthrough yet doesn't mean it's not on the way. God's silence is not absence, it's strategy. Look at the story of Hannah in 1 Samuel 1. She was desperate for a child, praying year after year, and every time she went home with nothing. But in her waiting, God was preparing her heart. In her heartache, he was strengthening her faith. And at the appointed time, God answered her prayer and gave her a son, Samuel, who would go on to change the course of history. Her breakthrough came when she least expected it. Just like Hannah, you might be in a season where it feels like your prayers are unanswered. But remember this: God's timing is perfect. He is never early and he is never late. He is right on time. In the waiting, he is not only working on your circumstances, he's working on you. He is building a faith in you that can stand the test of time, a faith that doesn't depend on the visible, but on the unseen. And that's the kind of faith that moves mountains. I know it's hard. I know you've been holding on, and it seems like you're running out of strength, but this is the moment to press in even more. The breakthrough you've been praying for, the answer you've been waiting for, is right around the corner. You might be just one more prayer away from the answer. You might be one step away from your breakthrough. Luke 18:1-8 talks about the parable of the persistent widow. She kept going to the judge, even when he ignored her, even when she was discouraged. And finally, the judge gave her justice because she was persistent. Jesus tells us that God will answer those who persist in faith. The key is not to give up too soon, not to stop praying just because you can't see the answer yet. Keep pushing forward. Keep believing. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. The breakthrough may not look the way you expect. It may not come in the way you imagined, but I promise you, it will come. And when it does, it will be more than you ever thought possible. It will be the answer to every prayer, the fulfillment of every promise, the confirmation that God was with you all along, even in the waiting. So don't give up. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. The silence you're hearing is not God's absence. It's the sound of God setting up something great. Your faith has been refined in the waiting. Now God is about to show you just how much he's been working behind the scenes, preparing the perfect timing for your breakthrough. If this speaks to your heart, write in the comments, "I'm closer to my breakthrough." Let this be a declaration of your faith, that you believe God is moving even when you don't see it. You're not alone in this waiting, and your breakthrough is coming soon. I want you to know something deeply important today. Every delay has a purpose. Every moment of waiting, every unanswered prayer, every silent season you've been through has been part of God's greater plan for your life. It may not make sense right now, but I promise you, when you see the whole picture, you will understand that God has been working in ways that go beyond your comprehension. We often see delays as obstacles, as roadblocks that keep us from moving or forward. But in reality, delays are not barriers. They are divine appointments. They are the moments where God is preparing something beyond what we could ever imagine. He's not punishing you by keeping you in the waiting. He is preparing you. You see, the story isn't over yet. The delay isn't the end of the story. It's the introduction to a deeper level of trust, growth, and transformation. Look at the story of Joseph in Genesis. His life was full of delays. He was sold into slavery by his own brothers, thrown into prison for a crime he didn't commit, and left in the dark for years. But in every delay, God was preparing Joseph for something greater. When the time came, Joseph didn't just rise to power. He saved a nation. He reconciled with his brothers. He became a part of God's bigger plan for his family and the world. Joseph's life was full of delays, but those delays didn't diminish the promise God gave him. They actually prepared him for it. Without the prison, without the years of waiting, without the heartache, Joseph wouldn't have been ready for the role God had for him. The very delays that seemed to be holding him back were the things that propelled him into his destiny. I know the waiting is painful. I know the questions rise up in your heart. Why isn't this happening yet? Why is everything taking longer than I expected? Why does it feel like God isn't answering? But I want to remind you of this. God is never late. His timing is perfect. The delay is not an obstacle. It's a divine strategy. God is working on things you can't see. He's working in the unseen, setting up circumstances, aligning hearts, opening doors and closing others. The waiting is not wasted. In Isaiah 55:8-9, God says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." What we see as delays, God sees as the preparation of His perfect plan. Maybe you've been feeling like everything is falling apart, but I want you to hear this today. You are closer than you think. The breakthrough is coming, and it will come in God's perfect timing, not a second too soon and not a moment too late. I want you to take a moment and reflect on what you've learned during this time of waiting. You've learned patience, you've learned endurance, and you've learned that God is faithful even when we don't see the results immediately. You've learned that your timing isn't always the right timing. You've learned that God is working on you, and He's shaping you into someone who can carry the blessing He has for you. This is a moment for you to shift your perspective. Instead of seeing the delay as a hindrance, see it as God's opportunity to prepare you for something even greater. Instead of seeing it as a loss, see it as a blessing in disguise. The waiting has not been wasted. It has been an investment into the strength and character you need for the next season of your life. The final revelation is this: God is working in the waiting. He has never left you, He has never forgotten you, and He is still moving even when you can't see it. Trust that the delay is not an obstacle, but a divine orchestration of something greater than you can imagine. You may not understand the why right now, but you don't need to. You just need to trust that God is faithful. His delays are never without purpose. If you believe this, let me know in the comments. I trust His timing. Let your declaration be a testament to your faith in God's perfect plan. You may not see it yet, but the waiting is about to make sense. The breakthrough is coming, and it's going to be more than you ever expected. Congratulations, my friend, for staying with me until the very end. You have just taken a step that few are willing to take. You've stayed through the waiting, the questioning, the journey of understanding. You've walked through every moment with a heart open to receive, and that in itself is something sacred. Very few people make it this far, and if you're here right now, I want to tell you this: you are chosen. You are part of a special group of people who have decided to trust, to wait, and to believe that God's plan is greater than their own understanding. What you've just experienced is not just a video, it's part of your journey, part of your transformation. You are being spiritually shaped, even in this moment. Now, I want to ask you something personal, and it's not just a question, it's an invitation, a commitment. What has God been saying to you through this journey? Maybe you've heard Him whisper to your heart. Maybe you've seen something new in the waiting that you hadn't noticed before. Maybe the pain of the delay has become a promise for the future, a sign that He is preparing you for something greater. Whatever it is, I want you to say it out loud right now. In the comments, write this simple declaration: I trust His timing. Why? Because when you write this, you're not just commenting, you're sowing faith. You're acknowledging that no matter what delay you've been facing, you trust in God's perfect timing. You're sharing that faith with the community, making a visible mark in the spiritual realm. You're standing firm in your belief that God's plan is always worth the wait. And now, I want to invite you into something even deeper. Share this video with someone you know who is struggling with waiting, with uncertainty. You don't know what one simple share could do. It could be the breakthrough they've been waiting for. It could change the direction of their life. And all it took was your willingness to help them see that the delay is not an obstacle. It's part of a divine purpose. Subscribing to this channel isn't just about adding a number. It's about joining a community that stands strong together. that holds each other up in times of trial, and that celebrates God's work in the waiting. You're part of a living, breathing, spiritual family. When you subscribe, you're saying, I'm committed to this journey. You're saying, I believe God is doing something in me, in us, and I want to be part of what He's doing. If this channel is a flame, you are the oil that keeps it burning. We are not just subscribers. We are a spiritual family, walking together through the fire, through the waiting, through the uncertainty. And we will emerge from it stronger, with greater faith, with clearer purpose. Now, as we come to the end of this video, I want to invite you to stay just a little longer. Don't rush away. Take a few moments of quiet reflection. Let the music wash over you and let your spirit connect with God. Allow yourself to feel His presence. Let your heart rest in the truth that the delay has a purpose and that God is working all things together for your good. In these final moments, I want to encourage you to do something simple but profound. Surrender it all to God. Whatever you've been holding on to, whatever you've been worrying about, just lay it down in His hands. Trust that He knows what is best for you. Trust that He is working in ways you can't see, that every moment of waiting has been preparing you for the future He has for you. As you listen to this music, just let God speak to you. Don't rush to move on to the next thing. Just stay in His presence for a moment longer and allow Him to reveal something new to you in this stillness. May this moment of silence be the beginning of a deep, abiding trust in God's perfect timing in your life. Thank you again for being here, for sticking with me until the end. You've made a powerful step, and I believe you are about to see the fruit of your patience. The waiting is over, the breakthrough is coming, and it's all in God's perfect time. Take this moment of silence, reflect, and remember, God has a purpose behind every delay, and in that purpose, He is making everything right. I'm grateful you're part of this journey with me. God bless you.